What is up, YouTube? How y'all doing, man? I know one thing, boy. You take a 1 or 2 day break, all kinds of stuff you miss, man. You start missing all kinds of stuff that's jumping up on YouTube as far as this hip hop. We learned our lesson, y'all. Uncle Mike learned this lesson. How y'all doing? Y'all doing all right? Good. Boosie is in jail. I'm trying to catch up, man. So I'm doing reactions. You know, first time reaction, man. Broke my glasses. Uncle Mike is, man, y'all got to pray for me. Please pray for Uncle Mike. Boosie cuts deal exposing dice rigging schemes. What? Exposing dice rigging schemes. Jay Prince loses it. Man. Okay, this is okay. Uncle Snitch. This coming off of Uncle Snitch channel right here, man. God dang. Y'all hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell. We got 2 Boosies we're gonna do, man. Is he in jail? Uncle Mike trying to catch up. So y'all let me know in the comments. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell.
Everybody,
let's check it out. Let's check it out.
Texas know what the play is. If you rapping, you celebrity. If you like the strip club, you like to do this.
That's Charleston.
You check in with them. They bringing them bad dice on you.
Damn.
Why you think they Duke the jeweler? They really couldn't get him. That's why they had. Come on, homie.
I know people were associating me with that Duke the jeweler situation because I went to the Boosie pool party and he happened to be there and he happened to be standing on.
Boosie has always worn the crown of being street certified, one of the last rappers people point to when they say he kept it real. But right now, his name is tangled in one of the dirtiest rumors of his career. Whispers that he cut a federal plea deal. A move like that could put him head to head with some of the most feared names in Houston's mob ties empire. If this rumor carries truth, it's bigger than rap beef. It's an earthquake that could shake the whole hip-hop industry. The drama traces back to 2023 when Boosie got hit with a federal gun case. For months, he screamed he was being targeted unfairly, fighting tooth and nail to beat the charges. But then word leaked that he might have agreed to some form of cooperation with the feds. A word that in street culture carries one label nobody wants: snitch. Now, no official paperwork has surfaced yet, but the way this story is spreading has fans and insiders buzzing like wildfire. People are whispering that Boosie may have dropped names to save himself, and the names being thrown around: Jay Prince and Jay Prince Jr. That's huge because these aren't just random figures. They're the faces of Houston's underground check-in culture, the mob ties brand that has run the city for decades. The feds have had eyes on mob ties for years, and Houston's rep for mandatory check-ins isn't just hood folklore. Multiple rappers and industry players have admitted straight up, you don't move through that city unless you go through the Princes. From late-night dice games to VIP clubs, mob ties has always had a heavy grip on Houston. And that grip has been under a microscope ever since the shocking murder of Duke the jeweler in 2022. Duke, a well-known Chicago jeweler, had just hit big at a dice game tied to Boosie's circle. The story? He showed off his winnings, left the game, and was gunned down in the parking lot. His jewelry and even his Louis Vuitton bag were later traced back to people connected to Boosie, and fans have never stopped side-eyeing him since. But now, with these plea deal whispers floating around, the speculation is getting darker. Folks are saying Boosie might have given the feds details about that entire night. Who was there, who had beef, and who pulled the trigger. And here's where it gets wild. Word is, the feds believe Boosie's own nephew could have been the shooter in Duke's case. Instead of letting it sit as a local homicide, they flipped it into a federal murder probe, which means more power, more resources, and way more leverage for cutting deals. If Boosie's nephew gets jammed up, the feds know the only card Boosie can play to protect family is information. And the names at the top of that list are mob ties. That's why the block is buzzing with talk right now. If Boosie really is cooperating, then Jay Prince Jr., who's already under fire after Takeoff's murder at another Houston dice game, could be the next domino to fall. People been whispering for years that mob ties runs those games like traps, where rappers either lose money, get robbed, or worse. Add in Takeoff's death under Jay Prince Jr.'s watch, and the whole pattern looks straight up deadly. Now the feds might finally be connecting the dots with Boosie, and for fans, it feels like a straight up betrayal. This is the same man who's been one of the loudest voices against snitch culture. clowning Tekashi 6ix9ine and anybody else who chose cooperation over silence. To even hear whispers that Boosie could be walking down that same path, that's why this rumor is exploding everywhere. True or not, the perception alone is already dragging his image through the mud. And if Mob Ties ever believes Boosie is really feeding their names to the feds, we're not just talking about messy headlines. This could get dangerous, deadly dangerous. The very case that put Boosie in the middle of this storm is none other than the murder of Duke the jeweler. Duke wasn't some nameless victim. He was a respected Chicago jeweler who worked with rappers, athletes, and street figures coast to coast. His signature iced-out pieces made him known everywhere, and his reputation was solid gold. But in 2022, when he hit Houston for a high-stakes dice game tied to Boosie's circle, that's where his story came to a tragic end. Witnesses said Duke cleaned the table out that night, walking away with stacks of cash. But in the rap world, winning big in someone else's city, especially one tied to a crew as deep-rooted as Mob Ties, is playing with fire. Duke left the game with his winnings, but the brutal truth is he never made it home. Moments after leaving that dice game, Duke was gunned down in the parking lot. His Louis Vuitton bag gone, his jewelry vanished into thin air. The streets didn't need official paperwork to smell foul play, and the fact that Duke was last seen around Boosie's people only made the whispers louder. When Boosie jumped on social media to deny any involvement instead of clearing his name, his words just stirred up more suspicion. He claimed he barely even knew Duke, saying he had nothing to do with the tragedy. But fans remembered clear as day. Duke had posted on Instagram just days before, shouting Boosie out. That contradiction had the internet side-eyeing Boosie hard, and from there, the rumors only snowballed. Then came the federal twist. Reports surfaced that investigators had evidence linking Duke's missing jewelry and cash back to people in Boosie's own circle. Even more explosive, word spread that the feds believed Boosie's own nephew was directly tied to the shooting. Instead of leaving this as a state-level case in Texas, it got kicked up to a federal murder probe. And that changes everything.
Okay.
When the feds step in, they don't just want the shooter, they want the entire network. And this is exactly where Boosie's rumored plea deal starts sounding real. If his nephew is truly on the hook for Duke's murder, that's a life sentence hanging over his head. But if Boosie flips and hands over names higher up the food chain, who organizes the dice games, who controls the check-ins, who pockets the profits when outsiders get played, then suddenly there's room for negotiation. Maybe his nephew gets a break. But in the streets, cooperation like that is a deadly gamble. That's the classic play in street politics. Trade information to protect family. And the target of that information? J. Prince Jr. and the whole Mob Ties machine? For years, people online been saying Mob Ties dice games aren't regular gambling. They're setups. Rappers pull up thinking it's all friendly, but instead, they get lined up. Some walk away broke, some get robbed, and some, like Duke and later Takeoff, don't walk away at all. The pattern is too loud to ignore, and the feds definitely see it. Duke's death, especially with Boosie's people allegedly tied to it, gave investigators the perfect opening to dig deeper into Houston's underworld. Add Boosie's federal gun case on top, and the storm gets heavier. He was already staring down years in prison. If prosecutors wanted to bury him, they had the leverage to do it. So now, those whispers about a plea deal start making perfect sense. Instead of sinking alone, Boosie allegedly agreed to work with investigators. And if that's true, it means every little detail he knows about Houston dice games, Mob Ties connections, who sets them up, and who profits when outsiders get burned, is sitting in government hands right now. For the culture, this is where it gets messy. On one side, people want justice for Duke, a man who should have never lost his life over a dice game. On the other side, if Boosie really handed names over to the feds, he'll never be looked at the same in the streets. This is the man who spent years branding himself as anti-snitch, clowning Tekashi 6ix9ine and anyone else who folded under federal pressure. If he flipped, that entire legacy cracks wide open. If Boosie really flipped just to save himself and his nephew, then his street credibility might be gone for good. And when you talk about Mob Ties, you can't ignore what went down with Takeoff in late 2022. The The Migos star lost his life in Houston, shot outside a bowling alley during, you guessed it, another mob ties-connected dice game. Just like with Duke the Jeweler, people immediately asked the same haunting question.
Man, y'all confusing me with this story, man, because they keep showing 50 Cent clips, videos of 50 Cent and videos of other people, other rappers. I mean, rest in peace to my man that got gunned down in the highway, but that's throwing the story off.
Why do these high-stakes games always seem to end in blood? And once again, right there in
this the guy they should be showing right here. This is Boosie, just in case y'all don't know.
the middle of it all was J. Prince Jr. The narrative looked too familiar. Rappers fly into Houston, they check in, they're promised mob ties protection.
Why they keep showing all these 50 Cent?
Step into the dice games thinking it's about brotherhood and fun, but then somebody ends up robbed, lined up, or dead. The craziest part? Takeoff wasn't even gambling that night. He was just standing in the mix when Quavo got into an argument. But bullets don't pick targets, and tragedy struck. What made it worse was when fans saw a video of J. Prince Jr. casually walking past Takeoff's body moments after the shooting. The internet lost its mind. To the culture, this wasn't seen as just another random loss. It was confirmation. Mob ties events don't feel safe. They look like setups. That's why street voices like Whack 100 and Charleston White have been calling them out heavy. Whack didn't sugarcoat a thing. He said flat out, Houston ain't no check-in, and the streets have been echoing that sentiment ever since. It's a stick-up. That's how Charleston White described mob ties, calling it nothing but extortion dressed up with jewelry and dice. And whether you love him or hate him, those words hit because they echoed what the streets were already whispering. When Duke the Jeweler got killed at a dice game tied to Boosie, and just months later Takeoff lost his life at another dice game under J. Prince Jr.'s watch, the dots practically connected themselves. Fans said it loud. How many times does this have to happen before y'all admit it's a pattern? And now, that's exactly what the feds are focused on. They don't see mob ties as just a clique or a rap crew. They see it as a network, and Boosie's rumored plea deal, that makes things 10 times worse for them. If investigators already suspected mob ties of running dice games, extorting rappers, and taxing outsiders through their check-in culture, then Boosie feeding inside info is like pouring gasoline on a fire. Think about it. He's been in the rooms, he's seen how the games are set up, and he knows who really controls the money. If he's confirming what rappers have been whispering for years, then J. Prince Sr. and Jr. might be staring down real federal heat, not just internet slander. The streets already know the reputation. Rappers admit privately that Houston comes with rules. If you don't check in, you're a target. If you do check in, you're still at risk. Either way, mob ties walks away with the profit. Some defend it as protection, but others call it what it is, extortion. And the tragedy of Takeoff showed the ultimate truth. Checking in doesn't guarantee you make it home safe. Now that the feds got eyes on everything, mob ties can't move the way they used to. Word on the industry side is that artists and even major labels are steering clear of Houston shows tied to them, terrified of both the violence and the federal heat circling the city. The days of dice games with millions in cash stacked on the table might be coming to an end. And whether by accident or by deal, Boosie may have just handed the feds the blueprint to shut it all down. But here's the dangerous twist. If Boosie really is cooperating, he's crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. The feds might keep him close while he's useful, but the streets, they'll never forgive him. In a culture where snitching is the ultimate crime, his credibility wouldn't just take a hit, it would collapse completely. And mob ties, they're not about to shrug off their name being dragged into federal paperwork. If they believe Boosie's the reason their empire is under the microscope, then his biggest problem won't be prison. It'll be survival. Right now, all the whispers point in the same direction. The feds are circling mob ties. Boosie's rumored plea deal may have been the spark, but the fire's been burning for years. Duke the Jeweler's murder, Takeoff's death, and Houston's long-standing check-in culture gave investigators more than enough reasons to step in heavy. And unlike local police, the feds don't care about street codes. They don't care about reputation. And they definitely don't care about rap politics. They're here to build a case strong enough to take down the entire tree, not just clip off a few branches. For those watching closely, the energy around this feels exactly like the massive federal takedowns that flipped hip-hop upside down in the past. Think back to Murder Inc. in the early 2000s, when the feds tried to tie Irv Gotti to drug money. Or Suge's Night with Death Row. Once the violence and street politics caught government attention, the feds swooped in and never let go. That's the thing about federal task forces. Once they start digging, they don't stop until either they find something or they bleed you dry in court while you spend millions just trying to fight them off. And with mob ties, there's too much smoke for the feds to ignore. The dice games, the robberies, the whispers of extortion, all of it screams red flags. The role Boosie plays in this storm is what's making the streets extra tense. If he really cut a deal to save himself and his nephew, then mob ties may already be compromised from the inside. Boosie's been in those dice rooms. He's seen how the money flows. And if he's giving up inside details, that's deadly information in federal hands. The wildest part? This is the same rapper who built his name trashing Tekashi 6ix9ine, calling him a rat. Now fans are pointing out the irony. Boosie himself might be wearing that same label. And that's not lost on anyone watching. For J. Prince Sr. and Jr., the stakes have never been higher. J. Prince has always carried himself like a godfather figure in Houston, respected for decades, known for music on one hand and muscle on the other. But after Takeoff's murder, that image started to crack. Fans didn't see a protector anymore. They saw a name popping up over and over whenever blood hit the pavement. And now, with Duke the Jeweler tied back to Boosie, plus all these rumors of cooperation, the Mob Ties brand is looking less like respect and more like a liability. And this isn't just about street credibility anymore. If Mob Ties gets hit with indictments, Houston's entire music scene could shift overnight. For years, Houston was treated like a required stop in hip-hop, a city you had to salute, a place you had to check in if you wanted to move safely. But if the feds tear that system apart, artists might stop running through Houston the same way. What once looked like protection could now be seen as a setup. And when that perception changes, the power shifts with it. Meanwhile, fans are split on Boosie. Some say if he really worked with the feds, he betrayed everything he claimed to stand for. Others argue he's just trying to protect his nephew, and that Duke's murder was too heavy to ignore anyway. But here's the bottom line. If paperwork drops with his name on it, Boosie's career as a street-certified voice is over. Sure, he can still make music, but that respect he spent decades building? Gone in a flash. The wild irony is that Boosie and Mob Ties were supposed to be the last of that real street energy in hip-hop. Instead, their names are now tangled up with federal indictments, whispers of snitching, and the blood-stained legacies of Duke and Takeoff. What was once a symbol of power now looks like the beginning of a downfall. At the end of the day, this ain't just about Boosie, J. Prince, or Mob Ties. It's about a culture where dice games, extortion, and silence got treated as normal, until the feds decided it was time to crack it open. And when the feds move in, nobody's untouchable, not even the legends. So what do you think? Did Boosie really flip, or is this all street gossip? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. See you.
Man, oh my God. This was a great story that didn't add up to the videos, man. I don't know what they was thinking about with these videos. Why you keep showing 50 Cent and what's his name, Mo3, rest in peace. You never mentioned half of the people that was on the video clips. You never mentioned their name, which threw the whole story off, man. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop it right here, man. I don't even know if we're gonna be using this video. Hey, y'all take it light, take it slow. Tell them Uncle Mike told you so. Peace out.